if you get incredibly anxious in social situations, if you want to know how to deal with social anxiety as a teenager at school, whether it's high school, middle school, or college, and you kind of want to watch a video from someone that is your age, that is in the same situation as you, then this video is definitely for you, because in this video I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top 7 tips that have helped me deal with social anxiety as a teenager. Hi Nimbus friends, and welcome back to my sleepover. If you're new here, then on this channel we talk about all things teenage life related, like how to be more confident, how to love yourself, back to school advice, and how to get your crush to like you. So if you're interested in any of those topics, then consider subscribing to this channel after watching this video. Consider this your free trial.
Okay, editing me here. I'm just here real quick to say that I'm gonna be defining what social anxiety is. So if you already know all of that, then feel free to skip to the tips immediately. The timestamp is gonna be in the description.
A lot of people think they have social anxiety if they're just shy or if they're introverted. Social anxiety is actually a disorder. It is not just being introverted, it is not just being shy, it is not just preferring a smaller gathering to a large party because you just don't like parties. Social anxiety is when social interactions actually cause anxiety for you. You feel like your heart's constantly racing, you feel like everyone in the room is judging you. It is when you want to socialize, you want to be a part of those big gatherings, you want to be a part of those parties, but because you're afraid of it so much, it's holding you back. Before we get into the video, I just want to make a disclaimer that I am not a mental health expert, I am not a psychiatrist, and this is what has helped me in my experience. Not everything that has been helpful for me might be effective for you. So without further ado, let's get into the tips. So the first thing might seem kind of crazy when I tell you guys, but please give me the benefit of the doubt here, because I promise you there's an explanation behind this, and this actually has worked for me. So what it is to not say I have social anxiety, but instead say I am feeling anxious. When you're saying I have social anxiety, you're pretty much labeling yourself as being that disorder. And when you attach your identity, you're letting it define you and you're letting it define who you are, which for your cognitive point of view, it makes it kind of harder to think about changing that, because if you are something, it's way harder to change. While if you say I'm feeling anxious, it implies that it's just a feeling. Therefore, you're kind of more likely to look at it as something that is more temporary, as something that is fixable. So the next one is actually what I learned from when I was in therapy or counseling. I don't know exactly, but basically when I was in high school, I had terrible social anxiety during my freshman year, and I used to go to see the school counselor or school therapist. So basically one day, something that I remembered the most was I came to her, and as usual, I was feeling pretty down about myself. I was like, oh, I was walking down the hallway and I even tried saying hi to a girl today, and she didn't even look at me. She just walked right past by me. And my counselor was like, well, what do you think that says about you? And I'm like, well, that must mean I'm so terrible, she didn't even like me, everyone hates me here. And I kind of went on what my thoughts were in that moment, and she was like, okay, that could be the case, but could there be other reasons for that person to act that way? So I was like, okay, maybe it was that she was wearing AirPods, maybe it was that she didn't see me, maybe she was rushing to class. That kind of reframed my thinking so much in that moment and made me realize that there could have actually been a different reason to that. So what can you guys take away from this? Basically, when you're in that situation and you have reframed the feeling from taking it as your identity to a feeling, ask yourself what is going through your head. Try to catch yourself in that moment. Okay, this is the thought, everyone hates me. Is there any evidence for that? What is the evidence supporting your thought, and what is the evidence disproving your thought? Usually you won't even find any evidence that supports your thought, and this can refocus your mind to think more rationally about the interaction that you're in. The third one is actually something that is really interesting, and you guys are probably gonna think that I'm just gonna be like talking about law of attraction right now, but that's not where I'm gonna be going with this point. So this is something that psychologists also use to train Olympic athletes after they were injured to make sure that they go back into the sport and play to their full capacity. What this is visualization. But what is interesting about this is when you visualize something, it's like mentally rehearsing that experience. The same areas of the brain are involved when you're visualizing as when you're actually doing something. So there are two ways that you can go with this. The first way is visualizing going into a social interaction, trying to visualize everything going well, trying to visualize yourself talking to people, but not a lot, because like even visualizing that might cause some anxiety. So you want to kind of like start small and kind of like build it up from there, because this is going to help you like rehearse the action in your brain, and then it's going to be less scary when it actually happens in real life. Another thing is that when you're in a social situation and you're getting anxious, what you can do to calm yourself down is visualize yourself in a place that makes you feel really safe and really good, because that situation is not feeling safe to you right now. And in order to bring to yourself that feeling of calm and that feeling of safety, you can use visualization. You can go into the bathroom, close your eyes, sit there, tune out the noise, and just visualize yourself maybe in your room, if that's a safe space for you. For me, like my favorite like safe space, or a space that I kind of like visualize in every single meditation, is a beach with some like rose quartz crystals. Okay, so additional bonus tip that I can give you guys though, which I literally discovered like last week, I think. If you're like really afraid to go to a hangout, you can basically sometimes take your best friends or another person as like your moral support. Because I was going to like hang out with a few people last week and I was getting super anxious about it. So I was talking to my mom, funny enough, and she was like, why don't you like ask if you can bring your best friend with you? And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. So I asked and I brought her, and she just made like the whole thing seem not scary at all. But like the thing here is like not to depend too much on that person to the point where like you go to socialize and you don't end up socializing with anyone else, because that has happened to me in the past too when I brought one of my other school friends to a different school party. So it can be helpful, but just make sure that like you don't completely like stick to that person. And now let's continue with this tip. So this fourth one is not really scientifically based. I don't know how good of an advice this is, but it's something that worked for me, so I decided to kind of like share it with you guys. And basically what it is pick your favorite celebrity, someone that you really look up to, someone that you think is incredibly confident, and someone that you know is like good with like social interactions, and try to pretend that you're them. And like these people are not interacting with you, you're being her in that moment. I feel like it puts a barrier between you and that interaction. I also heard someone say that like doing a makeup look that is a little unusual for them, or something that doesn't exactly look the way that they would usually do it, also helped them. Because like when you're interacting with those people, if they say something bad or if you feel like they think something bad, you don't really necessarily take it upon yourself because you're not really being yourself in that situation. But honestly, like I don't know how good this tip is, even though it helps you take things not so personally, and it has helped me. That's literally like what I did when I went out for the first time when I was in college. But I think that you should still be authentic. I think that you should not really like fake a personality. So it's something that you can use to an extent, but I wouldn't say like make up a whole different personality and just not be yourself around people, you know? So this next one, unlike the previous one, is actually that has legitimate basis to it, and it is gradual exposure. So you cannot expect to get over a fear without ever exposing yourself to that fear. But the key here is basically when you go to therapy, usually like what you're going to do is gradual exposure. It's done for PTSD or it's done for social anxiety a lot of the times. It is basically when you set small goals and you kind of increase them over time. time. The first goal can be to make a small talk with someone in your class that you haven't talked to before, or if that seems too scary for you, pick something that is even smaller than that, but still something that is outside of your comfort zone. And then slowly increase it up, maybe to the point of going to a party or something like that, but take it slow, don't rush it. Set like your end goal and slowly try to work yourself up to it. The sixth tip is something that you guys might be like, that's boring, but it actually really helps. So when we're feeling anxious, when we're in the state of anxiety, usually like your breathing starts to get more shallow. So the way to calm yourself down, one thing which is so overlooked by everyone, taking deep breaths. And deep breaths is not just like this is not a deep breath. A deep breath is literally like when you're breathing into your stomach and not your chest. What this is going to do, it's going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is basically the system in our bodies that is responsible for calming us down. Here's the seventh tip that I think is good, but has not really fit me. So what it is basically focusing on the moment. So what you do is you try to tap into your five senses. First of all, you ask yourself like, oh, what do I see? As I look around this room, I see like pink lights, I see butterflies, I see a Pikachu on the bed, I see a bunch of bags hanging, I see a computer in front of me, I see a phone recording me. What do I hear? I hear the buzzing of my refrigerator, and it's supposed to like bring you out of your head and into the present moment, thus kind of like bringing you away from those destructive thoughts and the anxiety that you're feeling. And another thing that you guys can try is to actually, if you feel comfortable about it, tell the people that you're with that you're feeling anxious. When I was staying with my friend in Paris, she brought a lot of her friends over and she was basically like having a mini party, and I was getting like super freaking anxious and I was like so scared to let anyone know. But I told her the next day and she was like, oh dude, you should have just told us, like we're like so chill about it. And I was like, oh man, like I should have just told them that I was feeling anxious instead of like freaking trying to hide it and then like going to hide in the bedroom. So yeah. Woo! Okay, my throat freaking hurts at this point. So, hope this video was helpful for you guys. If it was and if you liked it, definitely give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. And if you're interested in not only how to overcome social anxiety, but how to get people to like you easily and make friends easily, then you should definitely check out this video right here. And if you want to hear more about confidence and crushes, check out my playlists. And I love you guys so much. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye! Why are you hyperventilating? Dude, my computer is just like getting ready to fly away.